Welcome to the Christie Taylor Show. I'm your host, Christie Taylor, and super excited to have you here for yet another episode. And let me tell you, I am so excited that we have had a great month of May here in Memphis. It's been Memphis in May, having so many fun festivities, everything from film festivals and exhibits, also, of course, the Beale Street Music Fest, and just a host of fun. So if you've never been to Memphis, let me tell you, Memphis in May is one of those times you want to come. Also, let me say a special shout out to all the guests that I've had, particularly during this month of May, Mental Health Awareness Month. Be sure to check out the other episodes that we had in the month of May, because we really spoke to some of the key issues, everything from caregiving to being high achieving women. So be sure to check out the YouTube channel, Christie Taylor, for a chance to catch our replays. Now, today, I'm so excited. I get a chance to talk to Renée McRae. She's a performance poet, and you'll know why I'm super excited in just a moment. Renée McRae is a performance poet, 5-time author, teaching artist, recording artist, certified professional coach, and president of Poetic Motivations, LLC. Her personal mantra is, "You can live your dreams," and uniquely infusing poetry, rhythm, and rhyme, she delivers powerful, engaging, virtual, and in-person workshops, assembly programs, keynotes, and books in schools and organizations around the country, focusing on finding your purpose, living your passion, and achieving success. Her book, Manifest Your Dreams, Using the Power of Rhyme, provides readers the ability to consciously create their dreams and desires through empowering, inspiring, and motivating and rhyming affirmations and quotes. Now, Keeping Your Cool, which is a children's book, it's a fun, short story written in rhyming verse filled with tips to help students better understand how to manage their behavior and anger in challenging situations. Keeping Your Cool even comes, check this out, with a free student workbook and teacher's guide. So I'm excited to bring to the Christie Taylor Show a performance poet. Hi, Renee.
Hi.
I'm going to tell you one reason why I'm super geeked. I mean, to be able to end, all things with this amazing and kick off the month of June, Black Music Month, which of course, in my opinion, poetry is the foundation of music. It's all lyrics, spoken word, because I'm also a poet. I have written poetry since a child. So anytime I meet a co-poet, I'm like, yay! And of course, you're deep in though. So can we talk about, first of all, where you're from and what sparked your love of poetry?
So I'm from New York City. Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you so much. This is exciting for me. I'm from New York City. I was born and raised here, and I live here now. I've lived in a lot of different places, but I'm currently living in Queens, Hollis, Queens. And so the way that I got into poetry was actually, it kind of got into me. It wasn't so much that I was looking to get into it. I never really took classes in poetry or anything like that. So it just started coming through me somewhere around 1983. I'm dating myself now, but it started coming through me. I'd be thinking about a question, standing in that question, looking for an answer, and boom, this poem would come. What is this thing we call life? Is it hustle, struggle, and strife? I mean, where do we come from and where does it end? Are we in control or at the mercy of the wind? And then it would just go on. And I was like, what is this? And I'm driving and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what? And I didn't have a pen. So I just memorized it, like all the way home, all of it. By the time I got home, I wrote it all out, and it was a long poem, but at the end, not a long poem, but at the end, it actually gave me all of the information that I needed, because I was standing in this question about what is this thing? What is going on? Am I supposed to be here for just misery? Like, what am I here for? You know what I mean? Like that was the first poem where I was actually beseeching the universe, trying to find out, what is my purpose? Why am I here? And that's why part of the reason why I do coaching in that arena is because I've been there. I walked in those shoes of not knowing who I was and not knowing what I was supposed to be here to do, and not understanding why I wasn't achieving what, like a lot of other people were achieving, and I wasn't making money like other people were making money, and that kind of thing. So Yeah.
Wow. It's so much I need to know about you. And I know we only have just a fraction of the moment to dive deep in, but that's so many layers. And to know that, okay, nothing wrong with 1983 because that's the year I graduated from high school. Okay, wait a
Huh?
minute. And I just realized I was thinking about that the other day and I was like, oh my God, I've been out of school since 83. But with that being said, we're almost, 4 decades into you discovering your poetic spirit. And I love that poem. You just totally from your spirit, just it flowed. So in the question came your answer and also came your purpose. I absolutely love that. So, when did you identify as a poet? Because, it's one thing to journal and write them out, but it's another thing to say, I am a poet. So, when did that strike you?
Okay, so one time, well, I want to say I never identified as a poet for a lot of years. I used poetry here and there and everywhere. People would have me come and perform poetry or whatever. But it wasn't until 2000, it wasn't until 1998
Wow.
that I actually moved back to New York. And I was like, I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing, but I knew I was no longer going to work for anyone else.
Mm.
And so that's when I was like, just every night I was praying to have a dream to tell me the answer. And it took about 4 months, but because I'm a dreamer. So that's another thing. My whole spiritual growth thing is real prevalent in my life. And I had a dream. I woke up in the middle of the night and I was in a classroom and I was teaching these children about not social studies, science, English, or math. I was teaching them about life, but I was rhyming the whole time. And I thought, oh my gosh, like that felt like that was me. Like that's who I am. Like who does that though? How would I know how to do that? That's crazy. And so because at the time I was temping as a legal secretary.
Wow, a totally different industry. So here you are in the legal field, and yet your inner self was like, it's time to get in the classroom, it's time to get into poetry, it's time to do that. What was the steps you had to take though to go from where you were to who you were?
Well, so I didn't really know, but what happened was I was in North Carolina. I was living in North Carolina at the time, and I, I just quit my job and I left. I just packed up and moved to New York. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know if I was going to Detroit. I didn't know if I was going to Atlanta or if I was going to New York. And I decided at the end, I was like, okay. I mean, this happened within 1 week. I just quit my job, packed my stuff, and then decided, okay, I'm going to New York. So my husband was in Detroit and he came to North Carolina and helped me drive to New York because I didn't want to go to Detroit. So we came to New York, and so the first thing I say is that you have to sacrifice something, and I sacrificed my whole life. I did not know what it was I had done. So I was a marketing director at the time. I was working for Lumber River Council of Governments Workforce Development Department, and I was a district marketing manager. And prior to that, I was a marketing manager for a cable company. And so, I was really not. I just knew that that wasn't it for me. Even though I went there thinking, "Oh, I'm going to raise my daughter here, my this and that," and then all of a sudden, it was like, "This is not working." And I looked in, and this is interesting because we're talking about mental health.
Yes.
I felt like I was losing my mind. I was in the middle of the night. I was like, oh my God, what's going on? And I would get up and I call my girlfriend and I would go to her house. She'd stand there in the middle of the night, open the door, and I'd come in and just go get in her bed and go to sleep. And we both would bust out laughing like, you are insane. And I'm like, yeah, I know, I'm crazy. And my daughter was in New York visiting my mom at the time. So I went to work, and one day, this is how God works in your life. I picked up a book in one of my colleagues' office, and I picked up a book, and when I opened it to a page, and it said 5 reasons a normal person could have a nervous breakdown.
Whoa.
So I looked at it and I was like, I have all 5 of these.
Oh my goodness.
I was a single parent. I was living in a city that I didn't know anyone. I was my father, I'd lost a parent. I had just gotten laid off from a job that I had. I mean, it was just it was all 5 of the things that they said could cause
Wow.
a nervous break. Any one of them could cause, and I
And
had all
you had all 5. Wow.
and so then then I just did, I've always been like a workshop kind of person. I'll go to workshops and do this. Personal growth is my thing. And I
Yes.
just wrote down everything I wanted to do in my life. And on the other side of the paper, I wrote down everything I was doing in my life. And that's when I realized I was two different people. And so I had to leave. And
Renee, that's deep. Okay, that's an exercise many of us need to do at different intervals of our life, whether you've ever done it or you feel that you're in a life's change. Oh my God, that's good. What am I doing and what do I want to do? And compare the two.
what I want to do with my life. What do I
Yes.
want to do in my life?
Mhm.
And then everything that I am doing. And I'm
Doing.
doing great things in my life, but it was it was like, what's wrong with this picture? Me. I'm not supposed to be in it.
I'm
So it
not.
was a beautiful
Ooh.
place. And
Yes.
everything. That's why I just have stepped out in faith. I quit my job. I packed my things. I moved to New York. My mother looked at me and said, "You quit your job? Like, you quit your job? Like, have I not taught you anything?" But I had a great education. I had a great ability. I had skills. I could make plenty of money in law firms. I mean, I had done that for like 20 years, so it was all good. And anyway, long story short, I finally had this dream because I'm always talking to God, and
Yes.
God's always talking to me in poetry. And I'm like, could you tell me in this dream? I just don't want to wake up. I'm going to listen this time. I promise. I'm always like, oh, that was just a dream. I'm not paying that any attention. And so everything that happened after I had the realization, when I had that dream and I woke up and I said, that felt like that's who I really am. Like, that's me.
That's me.
Because I was searching for me. I mean,
Mhm.
I could tell you I was selling noni juice. I was in every network marketing thing that came along. I had sold cars. I had sold real estate. I could go on about how many things that I had done looking
Mhm.
for my purpose.
Mhm.
So I really figured it anyway. So long story short, I had the dream, and when I had the dream, everything fell into place. Everything came to me.
So Renee, I have a question. So once you make it to New York with all the options, including Detroit, where your husband is, and Atlanta, your mom, you say your daughter, everybody is in flux, and yet you're on this spiritual journey or the truest journey, which is the journey within. Once you get to New York, how does it begin to put you on the path? Because I'm thinking to myself, well, New York is where, in many cases, poetry, rap, everything that's in the arts is living. So did you just, walk into a place and say, hey, I'm home, I'm here? Or how did that journey?
No. And I was temping. I knew how to temp. I had taught people how to temp. I had done workshops on how to do office temping and stuff like that. So I was doing a lot of that. I also started helping other people temp and everything. I was doing a lot of that. People were offering me jobs, but I knew that I would never take another job. So what happened was I went and did poetry somewhere. Someone asked me to do poetry. I don't know who it was. I don't know what happened. It was for a fashion show or something. And they said, and this woman comes up to me, she says, you have to come to my book club.
Mm.
So I go to her book club. It's the only time I really was on stage doing poetry, pretty much comedian and poetry all connected together. Because they were laughing.
I can see that. I can see that.
And I mean, I'm telling this story, whatever story it was. Anyway, long story short, I go to her book club and I do some poetry. They buy my books. And this woman says to me, can you come and speak to my kids?
Wow.
I'm a teacher.
There you go. The dream fulfilled.
And I said, sure. I never know it. So I went over there.
Mhm.
And next thing you know, I worked a couple of times with her and I would do it for free, whatever. She said, can you do an assembly program? I said, sure. I don't know. No is not in my vocabulary. So I'd say yes to everything. So
yes
I said,
to the universe. Yes to the universe.
I'll figure it out. I will build the plane in the air and jump off the damn cliff. Excuse my language. So I go and I do this assembly program. To this day, I don't know what I did in there. I did all this different poetry and I had the kids repeating after me and all this positive stuff. And I walked out of there and I'm leaving the building and this principal comes to me and he says, Miss McRae, hold on 1 minute. I said, oh, hi, Mr. Brisbane. He says, you know what you did in that assembly program with those kids? I said, yeah. He says, I want you to come back. I want you to work with all the kids in school. I want to hire you for the rest of the year.
Wow.
I said, okay, why don't we just get together on Monday? Why don't we talk about that? So Monday morning, 10 o'clock. So this was Thursday. Mm-hmm. Now, I didn't say no. I didn't know how to say no. And I was like, that's great. Let's do it Monday morning. I didn't know what I was going to do or how I was going to do it. The next day, however, I had a meeting already set up. It was an interview for me to go to this company called Teachers and Writers Collaborative. And I was trying to Teachers and Writers Collaborative, and I was going to get on their roster, and they send poets into the schools and writers. And they have all different types of genres, from memoirs to fiction to poetry, all this stuff. And then they had a whole resource library for free because it was a nonprofit. You could take any book you needed and take that home with you. They hired me, and they said, we're going to put you on the roster. And oh, by the way, here's all our information. When you go in and talk to a principal, these are all the forms that you're going to need, from the principal sign-off form for your contract, to talk to the teachers before you go in to do a residency, and to talk about the themes, to talk about what their disciplinary measures are, whatever. Everything was in this packet that they gave me. So me, with my secretarial skills, I go home and I change everything that had teachers and writers to poetic motivation.
So that is when you created your company. Your company came out of necessity. Well, first of all, out of necessity, but even more so, before you did the Thursday, but you had already scheduled something on the Friday so that you could be prepared for the Monday. Honey. Okay. I just got to pause right quick, because this is what divine flow looks like, ladies and gentlemen. But of course, like you said, it's not without some of the rub, without some of the drama, without some of that. But I love how when you say yes, and I'm going to practice that. I'm going to start saying yes more often. Shonda Rhimes talked about, there's a book that she did, The Year of Yes. And I listened to it, and she talked about how her assistants and everybody said she always said no. She always turned down opportunities, to be out and about. She stuck to just her regimented way of life. But when she took the year and started saying yes to anything, she talked about how transformative it was. And just listening to you, Renee, I see the power of yes. Wow. Real quick, to show you, ladies and gentlemen, how much she got into the classroom, if you follow her on her social media, be sure to follow her, Renée McRae. That's MCRAE. Also her website. I want to just share a little bit of something that she's done that I just think is absolutely amazing, because it shows you in the classroom.
Yeah. Come on. Listen. Well, I'm trying to come more important than that. I got things on my mind, and as a matter of fact, I'm rhyming and I'm rhyming, making my dreams come true. Who can say the same? Yo, what about you? I'm rhyming to the beat, cause I got something to say. And I'm not rhyming to the rhythm just to make bodies sway. I'm rhyming with the reason why the world's going around. I'm rhyming for a season as I hide it down. Running around talking about getting paid. Running around talking about your heavy and late. Running around acting like you just don't care. I got things on my mind I have to share. Running around talking about getting paid. Running around talking about your heavy and late. Running around acting like you just don't care. I got things on my mind I have to share. I'm rhyming and I'm teaching, and yes, I'm getting paid. I'm like the other side of leather, but they just call it say. Think about your life and how you get what you desire. You don't have to work a job that you don't like and retire. Dedicate yourself to something that you enjoy. Don't run around pretending just to be like a boy. I'm rhyming in your ear because you don't have a clue. I'm rhyming in your ear, yes, talking to you. Running around talking about getting paid. Running around talking about your heavy and late. Running around acting like you just don't care. I got things on my mind I have to share. Running around talking about getting paid. Running around talking about your heavy and late. Running around acting like you just don't care. I got things on my mind I have to share. Think about the world and how you want it to be. Cause you can live your dreams, yeah, just like me. I'm rhyme time to time, but more important than that, I've got things on my mind as a matter of fact. Think about the world and how you want it to be. Cause you can live your dreams, yeah, just like me. Just like me, just like me. You can live your dreams, yeah, just like me. Running around talking about getting paid. Running around talking about your heavy and late. Running around acting like you just don't care. I got things on my mind I have to share. Running around talking about getting paid. Running around
can I say you had a ball doing that? You totally did. You totally
I love that music.
enjoyed that.
I love that music, and I love the whole,
Mhm.
the whole concept. I love the whole project, and just like you said, I mean, I always wanted to put music. People would say to me, "When are you going to put your poetry to music? When are you going to put your poetry to music?" I was like, "I don't know," because I didn't know how. And one day it just happened. I mean, just out the blue, I was doing an interview um, in Staten Island with a friend of mine. We were producing a show called Fade to Black, and went over there to interview these people. I wasn't supposed to be doing that interview. He had last minute, he had a cancellation and said, "Can you please?" And I was like, I don't want to do this interview, because it was an interview for some people, some women that had lost their sons to gun violence and police brutality or whatever. And I didn't want to even know about that. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to cry about it. I didn't want to ask about it. I didn't want to be in the room with them. And but I didn't want to let him down, so I did it. And while I was there, the guy it was his home, I gave everyone a book just as a thank you for the interview and everything. And he comes to me and goes, "You're a poet?" And I said, "Yeah." He says, "I'm a poet." He started doing poetry. I do poetry. He said, "Come upstairs, let me show you my." Then the next thing I know, he's showing me music. He has a whole studio up there. And I'm like, you put your poetry to, yeah, I want to do this. So next thing you know, I'm getting his number. And I'm like, when I get on something, I'm on it. Okay. Like, I'm getting that. So all it has to do is show up for me one time, and I'm going to be on it. And so that's what happened. And I called, and then he went somewhere else. He went to somewhere, and he was like, I'm going to Cuba and da 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 da. He said, "But I have a better guy for you." He gave me the guy's name. I kept calling the guy. Anyway, finally I got the guy finally going to do the thing. I didn't even know. I'm driving myself there saying, why am I going? I don't even know what poem I want to put to music. I don't know what kind of music I want. And he was asking me those questions when I got there. And I was like, well, okay, I have this one piece that, I rhyme time to time. But more important than that, I've got things on my mind. As a matter of fact, I'm rhyming and I'm climbing, making my dreams come true. Who can say the same? Yo, what about you? And so,
Straight off the dome, Renee.
So I said, that's the one I want to do. So he said, well, what kind of music do you? He's listening to all this different music. I'm like, I said, do you have any violins? Do you have any congas? Do you have any? So he started bringing up congas, bringing up violins. And next thing I was like, and I was tapping my feet and I started doing it. And he just started adding more stuff to it. I was like, yes, that's what I'm talking about right there. And that's how we started. That's how we did the thing. And then he goes to me, okay, so now we need a hook. I'm like, a hook? I thought the hook was you can live your dreams like me, just like me. He said, that's not the hook. That's not the hook. No, we need da 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 ba da 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 ba da da. I'm like, what? He said, here, take a pen. You can write it right now. I looked at him like he was insane. And I'm sitting there and he goes, da 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 da. I said, okay, I got it. I just said, I thought about the kids. And I thought about them and how I'm really trying to talk to them and reach them. And I thought, running around talking about getting paid, because that's what they talk about. I have them doing poetry all the time in class.
Yes.
Talk about getting paid, getting that cheddar, this, that, and the other. They talking about, their hair being laid, and they got the braids and the this and the weave and the that. And, it's all this cosmetic and superficial stuff. And I'm like, running around talking about getting paid, running around talking about your hair being laid, running around acting like you just don't care, because they act like they don't care about what the teachers are talking about. What running around talking about you just don't care. I got things on my mind and I have to share. And he said, that's it. That's enough. I was like, okay, that was it.
That was it.
I wrote that in the studio.
In the studio. First of all,
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Don't say no, just go. It's like when they say that thing where they say, God is gonna when God leads you up a mountain, one of two things is gonna happen. There's either gonna be something to stand on, or you're gonna be taught how to fly.
Ooh, I love it. Wow, that speaks to my soul. Thank you, Renee. Thank you. And I want to rewind it. You said that the reason you even met a lot of these people is because you had a book. So let's talk about the two books and how, particularly, the one that you have that is for students, because maybe someone wants to do like you and infuse keeping your cool.
This is the one I did in 2020. I just did this one in 2020. I mean, this book was coming for at least 8 years. And And I published, I'm going to tell you something. I've published like 17 books of student poetry, of poetry from my kids in every class, in all these classes across the country. I've published all these books, right? I couldn't get my one book published that I was writing. And I finally said, in January 2020, this is before the pandemic hit because that happened in March. But in January, I said, you know what? I'm doing this book come hell or high water. And I didn't know both of them was gonna come, but I said I'm doing this book hell or high water. Yes. And I sent off, and I decided on this illustrator, and I sent off this email. Do you know I had sent an email to that same illustrator the year before in January also? Like it was so but this time I was like committed. So, she started doing, I sent her pages, she started doing, and the illustrations are actually
beautiful. Absolutely
they're really beautiful. And they're just, and it's all written in rhyme. This one is like, in the lunchroom when you go get something to eat, and when you come back, someone has taken your seat. Or when you walk with your friends down the hall and someone bumps into you and they say nothing at all. No, I'm sorry, my bad. Not even, are you okay? Nope, they just run along their own merry way. So it takes you through the scenarios that get children angry, and then it takes you through the anger. Like when I used to get angry, I would slam the door, ball up my fist, and stomp on the floor.
Yes.
And then one day to our school came a poet. She said, when you get angry, don't you ever dare show it. There's so many things you could be doing instead if you just don't let anger get in your head. And so then she goes into these things, take a deep breath, count up to 10. When you can do that, the anger won't win.
So of course, you can go to her website, Renée McRae, and Keeping Your Cool. And it comes with a free student workbook and for teachers. So definitely something, if you want to infuse poetry into the classroom, get the book. I absolutely love that. And I love the illustration. It's just absolutely beautiful. And I like the complexity of the art. I'm an artist. And speaking of that, I see you have some art above your head. So I've been trying to eye that as well. Plus that beautiful plant behind you.
It's been with me for years.
Oh, wow. You've been loving on it. Definitely have been loving on it. Mm-hmm. Any last words before we go, Renee?
I do want to share that I just did this book here. It's called Manifest Your Dreams. And it's creating your life through rhyming affirmations. I dedicated to my grandmother, who was born on February 22nd. She passed away on February 22nd. And this year on February 22nd, 2022, I published this book in her honor. And This is an excellent book for getting your life together, because we can say affirmations all day long, but these affirmations will help you adjust your belief systems so that you're no longer in your own way.
I need that book. For the next level of living. Yes. I love affirmations, and I love rhyme, and I love poetry. So I need to add that to my arsenal. Thank you, Renee.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, Christy, this was amazing. I know it flew by.
It did. But this was such a delight. And for those, I tell you, be sure to follow her on all her social, check out her website, get the books, plural. And I totally thank you. Thank you for being such a joy and such a delight.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, always welcome. Always welcome. Until next time.